Hey guys, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. If you are visiting for the first time, please consider subscribing, as I would love to have you as part of my YouTube family. If you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. I do appreciate your support. And let's get on with these Valentine DIY projects I have for you. I hope you guys enjoy this video. And as always, I appreciate a thumbs up and a subscribe if you haven't already. So first up, I am making a little sign using some items from Dollar Tree. And this little booklet of stickers, as well as that collage paper, came from Joann's. The little burlap hearts are from Hobby Lobby. The metal galvanized tin heart is from Dollar Tree. So first thing I'm doing is tearing the collage paper into smaller pieces to make it more manageable and to make it look more organic when I Mod Podge it onto the metal heart or corrugated heart. So you can decoupage in any fashion depending on your preference, but I find that tearing it into pieces, like the paper into pieces, just gives it a more natural look to it, where it doesn't look like just a piece of paper that you just pasted on. It looks more artistic to me, in my opinion. And again, it just has a more organic feel to it. So all I did was just tear the collage paper into smaller pieces, applied some Mod Podge to the metal tin, and then gently rub that paper onto the Mod Podge. And then once that part was dry, you're going to want to also top coat the entire piece using the same Mod Podge just as a protectant. But here, you can go as far into the middle as you want, but I am going to be covering up that middle. So I'm not too concerned with giving it a full coverage. You can also have more of the tin showing if you want, just by adding less paper to the tin. It's all up to you. So taking my finger sander, I'm just going to go ahead and rub off any excess paper that's hanging off the edge, and that just gives it a nice clean finish. So the next thing I did was use some of this Tim Holtz Distress ink in the color Shabby Shutters, and first I was rubbing it direct from the ink pad to the metal tin, but I find that using a sponge dauber like this gives you more control in terms of being able to apply the color in the areas that you want, and you're able to spread the color out a little bit more evenly. I also took this vintage photo distress ink and also sponge that on, mostly focusing on the edges, just giving it the aged feel. And just by applying that darkness around the edges, it just gives it more of a vintage look. So I really like the look of this after applying those two types of or colors of inks. You can also bypass this step if you choose to, and you don't want to add any added color. You just want to keep it, the natural state that it's in, but that's purely up to you. I did speed up the drying process using a heat gun. So I showed you in the beginning that I had two types or two colors of burlap hearts. Again, those are from Hobby Lobby. I picked up last year on clearance. But you can also easily just cut out hearts in on pieces of burlap fabric that you might have laying around. You can also buy burlap rolls of fabric from Dollar Tree as well. But I already had those on hand, so you'll see that I will be adding that to this project. So here I'm showing you this booklet of stickers. This is also by the Tim Holtz brand, and they have different wordings. They're made to look like the vintage typewriter, labels, and they have a lot of neat sayings on them. So I just picked the ones that was more specific for Valentine's, that has something to do with love or hearts or anything like that. They also came in the white background. So I'm going to vary it up and just pick one of each. And then I'm going to just add that to this burlap heart. I'm just going to use some Mod Podge, but you can also use hot glue if you need a little bit more adhesive, to make those stickers stay down, because Mod Podge might not be adequate. And I'm also using that little unfinished heart that you see right there that came in a pack from Dollar Tree. They had an assortment of different hearts in pink and reds, and it also came in unfinished wood color or wood tone. So I'm just gonna place that heart right there using some hot glue, and then adhere those labels using Mod Podge, and then just speeding that up with my heat gun. I then took this bling wrap, but it's like pearl, like it looks like pearls, and that's from Dollar Tree. It just cut off a length to fit across the top part of the heart, just for a little bit more added interest and give it a little bit more of that vintage romantic flair to this project. And just hot glued the back side of it to where you can't see it. So make sure that you cut your ribbon long enough to where you're able to hot glue it on the back. And then I'm just going to go ahead and finish up by gluing all my pieces down, attaching everything as needed. And I'm really loving how simple this came together, how quickly it came together, and it's such a cute little decorative piece just to hang in your home, you know, like in a wall decor setting, or add to a vignette. Perfect for any display areas. So I'm also using this piece of lace ribbon that came from Walmart on clearance maybe a year and a half ago or something. And I wanted to add a little like of that vintage photo distress ink just to give it a little vintage look to it, make it look a little more gringy and dingy. Not gringy, but dingy. Give it more of the aged look to just sort of fit in with the entire look of this piece. And then hot glued it to the back, and there you have it. This is the first DIY, and I hope you guys like that one. Let's move right along to the second DIY of this video. I'm taking one of these wood heart signs that comes on a dowel from Dollar Tree. I'm also taking this red burlap heart from Hobby Lobby. What I did was I just trimmed off the heart a little bit just to make the little dip in the middle more pronounced, and then just trimmed off all around just to make everything cohesive. I'm taking the champagne pink color by Dixie Belle and just giving this a good coat on both sides. I like the contrast of this pale pink against or behind the red. I think it makes a nice two-toned effect. And then taking the same Shabby Shutters colored ink pad, I'm going to just sponge on to the outer edges, and then I'm going to do the same using some of that vintage photo ink color as well. And once I have the amount of ink I wanted, just to give a little more depth and dimension to this piece, I'm going to move on to the next step. I took this pack of stickers from Dollar Tree. It came in these colorful tones, like jewel tones, and all I did was took that same champagne colored pink by Dixie Belle and just painted over those keys. Actually, I painted over one lock, and then I painted over one key. So if you have this set of stickers, you just choose the particular design or shape of the lock or key that you want to use for your project. But I chose that little lock right here. And then once that was fully dry, you might need a couple coats just because the jewel tones of it comes through pretty dark, you know, behind that light pink color. And once you have that part dry, you're going to want to just sponge on some of the same ink color, and then also use some of that vintage photo. Again, just adding and layering on all these different colors just makes the little ridges in the design of this key come out a lot more, and makes it accentuated, if you will. So I'm doing the same thing to both the pieces, both the lock and the key. Just using the shabby shutters and the vintage photo. And in the end, I do not show it in the video because it was sort of an afterthought. It was after everything was completed and I had everything all recorded and wrapped up, you know, the final stages of like taping the end results. I decided to go back in with some of the rub and buff color and antique gold and just accentuate the highlights of, or the, yeah, basically highlight those areas that are the high points of the lock and the key. And you'll see in the end that it really gives it a nice dimension because it brings out all of the designs, which I really like. So here I'm gluing down my stickers just as I did with the first DIY. I'm using the same booklet of stickers and just choosing the phrases that I think is appropriate. And then I'm just going to use hot glue to hot glue that lock down and then use some hot glue to also glue down the little sticker label. And then moving on to the other side, I wanted this to be two-sided because why not? Why not use both sides? You know, I have free space on the other side. I'd rather make use of it than to just keep it plain. I took that the key and then took another sticker, did the same thing as I did, Mod Podge that on just for protection. And then I took this same sort of pearl bling wrap and just twisted that along the dowel, hot gluing it in different points just to make sure it's secure and in place and it doesn't go anywhere. I thought that added a nice touch to this DIY, just making everything look more cohesive. And then of course I wanted to top it off with a nice, cute, simple bow. And all I did was use some lace ribbon. Here I'm taking some of that same lace ribbon as I did for the first DIY and just added it to the outer edges of the heart, just framing it out. I thought that added a nice little touch. And then I'm also going to be making a cute, simple bow to add to each side of the heart, just where the bottom of the heart meets the dowel. And you'll see that here in just a second. Here is the lace ribbon that I picked up from DollarTree. And all I did was just make a simple like shoestring style bow and using a piece of jute string, just cinching that down the middle and then making sure to dovetail the edges or the tails. And at first I was going to just use this on one side of it, but then I remembered that this is a two-sided sign or wand. So I did the same thing for the other side. I just used the remaining tails of the jute twine that I used to knot the center of the bows to knot around the dowel. And that's how I attached these bows to this dowel. And that was it. Super easy, quick DIY just to add to a cute little vignette, maybe with some picture frames, or you can give this to someone as a gift. I just think it's cute. You can even just lay it on a table, on a, you know, on a dresser. But I hope you guys like that one. And let's move on. We're moving on to the third DIY of this video. This is one of those Dollar Tree signs picked up last year. And this is a cute sign as is. It has a nice little pale pink background with that little metal tin sign hanging off of it. But we're going to do something just a little bit differently. I had these cupcake liners that I had in my stash. I picked up from Michael's. I don't even remember how long I've had it, but I came across it and I thought what a perfect addition it would be to trim off this heart. It would make a nice, cute little lace edging to this heart, which is already cute on its own, but this gives it more of that feminine look to it, as well as giving it more of a romantic vibe. So I decided to just frame the entire heart using some hot glue to adhere those cupcake liners. And I thought that was definitely a nice touch just by simply doing that. Now you can stop here if you wanted to, but I had to go a little bit extra. I decided to make a word using some macrame cord as well as some wire. So that wire is from Hobby Lobby. The macrame cord you can pick up at any craft store. I believe that one is from Michael's. So all I did was I decide on a word I wanted to use. Love was perfect because it's a Valentine's DIY and it's a short word. So why not? I decided that I was going to use this wire to sort of twist around this rope or cord, and this will give it that stability and make it more make it flexible so that you're able to form and shape the letters. I thought that was a good idea because initially I hadn't thought of using the wire. I was just going to use the cord and try to hot glue it down, creating the word. But then it was a little bit challenging because I did try to do it off camera, and then the light bulb moment came on and I decided why not use some wire instead. So that's when I came up with the idea of twisting the wire around the cord, and then I tested it out and started to create and shape my word, and voila, it worked out perfectly. So here, as you can see, it took a couple tries, but I did have to keep forming my letters to like the font, so to speak, of what I wanted, because you can shape your letters any which way you want. You can make it, like straight. It doesn't have to be cursive. I wanted mine to be cursive. So I came up with this look right here, and I think that was perfect. And in addition to that, before I hot glued anything, I also wanted to trim off the edge of that heart because I thought it was sort of missing something. So I decided I was going to use the same macrame cord and just hot glue that all around the heart, which will tie in perfectly with the macrame word that I just made. So I decided to go ahead and hot glue all the wording down, and making sure to add some hot glue where the letters or the chord overlap each other, because you want to make sure that your letters and the shape of the letters stay the way they're supposed to look. So that's important to sort of add that hot glue so that nothing unravels and they get misshapen, and then they end up not looking like the letters that they're intended to look like. So make sure that you do that if you decide that you're going to recreate this DIY, and then use some hot glue to adhere the wording to your sign. Now here I made the mistake of sort of starting my L a little bit too much on the right and not leaving that little extra piece right there. So I went ahead and fixed it. I had some extra macrame cord with the wire already twisted on it, and just simply added that to the edge of the L, just elongating the L so that it looked just like the E, where the E sort of carried over to the very edge of the heart. And that's exactly the look I was going for. So I did the same with the L. I thought that was a good idea. And then here, as I mentioned, I'm just going to add the macrame cord all around the heart just to finish off this look. But of course, I can't stop there. I felt like it needed a ribbon or a bow, so I took some wired burlap ribbon from my stash. You can pick up burlap ribbons from DollarTree, Walmart, Hobby Lobby, anywhere really, but this I've had in my stash. All I did was cut a couple strips of ribbon. I think I cut off like two longer strips, and then I cut the one long strip in half. That's how I got those two shorter pieces. Now I played around with what type of ribbon or style of ribbon or bow I wanted to create, and essentially I ended up with this look right here. I kept one of the ribbons long, and then the two pieces that are shorter that I cut from the one long ribbon became the center part of this bow. And I just use a piece of jute twine to attach the pieces all together, and then making sure to dovetail the edges. And then I decided that I needed to add some pink to this bow just to tie in the pink with the lace design. And I used some of this baker's twine. It's a pink and white baker's twine, and I just twisted that around the center a few times and used some hot glue. Now, the good thing about this type of ribbon is that it is wired, so that would be ideal in recreating this because it allows your bow to keep its structure. I love how that one came out, and I hope you guys do too. Let's move on to the next sign of this Valentine's DIY video. I used one of Dollar Tree's sign. This is one of their chalkboard signs, and it has like the very glittery outer edges. So as you can see from the beginning, I did test out a small area using the champagne pink color, and I wanted to do that off camera because I really wasn't sure if that was going to be the direction I wanted to go and exactly how it's going to look when you cover all of this glitter. So I wasn't, now I'm not opposed to glitter or anything, but it's just not the look I was going for. And then being red and everything, it was just a little too much. So I thought by adding the champagne pink, it would sort of tame down the color and mask all of that glitter. Instead of glitter, I decided to use this Distress Mica Flakes by Tim Holtz, again from Joann's Fabrics. And it was such a fun product to use. It's my first time using it. So all I did was add and sprinkle that on to the wet paint, and it worked out just fine. In my opinion, they do sort of resemble the look of fish scales. That's a little strange, it might sound, but that's what I was thinking about when I was applying this mica flakes. But it really does give a nice look to it. It makes it really look like vintage. I don't know, it just has that look about it. The next thing I did was took this galvanized metal heart that I took from the other DIY that I ended up not using for that one, and decided I was going to use it for this one. It fit perfectly right down the center. I just removed the components. I took off the little bow that it came with, and then the little hanging jute string. And I decided to use some Aleene's tacky glue. You can use any type of permanent type of adhesive. I'm not sure if hot glue on its own would be a wise idea, but I would advise to use some other type of permanent glue in addition to hot glue. And then all I did was just hot glue that down to the center of this chalkboard sign. Now taking this sort of farmhouse ribbon, also from Dollar Tree, just making a simple shoestring bow and dovetailing the edges, I am just going to add that to the center where that little hole is, where the jute twine was originally used to hang that little metal tin. And this is where I sort of played around with the shape and sizing of this bow because I was trying not to cover up the words. So I was trying to make it more of a wider squatty ribbon as opposed to like a longer ribbon. So you just have to be methodical when it comes to that type of stuff, especially when you have words in the way and you're trying not to cover that up. But it was super easy fix. I just used some hot glue and attached that bow onto that. And then this project is almost done, but I decided I was going to add some little pearl stickers. These already have adhesive in the backing. You can add extra adhesive if you want, but this was actually adequate enough and it was sticking on just perfectly. So there was no need to add any extra hot glue or anything like that. So all I did was follow the pattern or the shape of the outline of that heart and just making sure to space them out as evenly on each side as possible. And again, it just lends well to the vintage look of this heart, especially with the mica flakes and like the vintage looking champagne pink color. I think everything is going nicely together. Last but not least, I'm going to add a little hanger to this, and I decided to use this pink and white baker's twine, just looping it through the original holes that the heart had and making a knot in the back. That about does it for this DIY. I think it came out super sweet and cute, and I hope you guys love this idea. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And I hope you guys are enjoying this video so far. Please give me a thumbs up if you do. Moving right along, this is the fifth and final DIY of this video. These little photo frames I picked up from a thrift store quite some time ago, to be honest. Based on the labels in the back, they look like they originally came from Michael's. They do come with this little hanger right here. They're little picture frames. They're super cute. I believe they're like 2 by 2 or something like that. They hold that small of a photo. I also am using this paper. It came from Daiso. I've had that in my stash. And all I'm doing is just painting the frames. I removed the glass as well as all of the inserts and just use a sponge dauber to paint on some of this moss colored paint by Waverly. And you can use a regular paintbrush, but I decided to use a sponge dauber just because of all the nooks and crannies on this picture frame. And it's just a lot easier just using a little sponge dauber. This was super easy to do. I really love this color, moss green. I think it's perfect, especially for springtime. But you'll see that I end up lightening up this green just a bit because I'll be using some white wax by DIY. White wax is really neat to use, especially when you're using like a paint color that might seem a little too bright or too loud or too dark. Anything that might seem a little like much for your taste or for whatever project that you're doing. White wax just has a way of making it so that it it sort of tones that color, and not only does it give it like a vintage look to it, but or like an aged look, but it just really tones down the color, the original color that you have. You'll see here shortly. This is the white wax right here. So all I did was use a sponge brush. You'll want to focus mostly on like the low points, I guess, is what you would say, like anywhere that's like deep down in creases and things like that. Anywhere that there's like I wouldn't say I would probably say debossing, maybe like anywhere it's like a low point, because that's where the white wax tends to sink into and settles into, and that's what gives it that nice aged vintage look. So like right here, I'm focusing my sponge brush right there in the creases. And once I wipe it off with a paper towel, you'll see that it settles nicely into those creases. Now, when you do the same thing to like areas where it's not like deep down or anything, yes, you can still see that faded look of the white wax, but it doesn't have that appeal, the same appeal as it does like when you're going like into deep areas or recessed areas of your project. I don't know if I'm making any sense. Hopefully you guys are catching what I'm trying to put out there, but just seeing it here exactly how it looks after I've done it, hopefully will give you the idea of, make sense to you of what I'm trying to talk about. But here's the paper that I'm using. Now you can use any type of paper, design anything, scrapbook paper that you want. If you want to make yours more Valentine's looking or more traditional Valentine's with hearts and pinks and, you know, reds and things like that, you're welcome to do so. This is going to be simply a background to what's going to come next. And it's just a nice subtle background in my opinion. Now, if you wanted to keep this just like this, it looks cute too. It has a very French flair to it, in my opinion. And you can leave that as is, but I'm trying to use up some stickers that I have in my stash, and the stickers I'm going to be using are hearts, and they're very similar to the ones that I used in my previous DIY in this video where I used the lock and key, but instead I'm going to be using the hearts. So they're like made to look like metal hearts or metal stickers, but they're not. So you'll see here how I accomplish that. So taking some of this rub and buff in the antique gold, I'm just using my fingers to slightly glide over different parts of the raised areas of this picture frame. Again, just giving it more dimension, adding a little bit more flair, not making sure not to overdo it because, this is just meant to highlight different areas. And I'm not a huge, you know, fan of gold per se. I do like it in little spurts, and once in a while I get my moods of liking gold in my decor, but it's not something I gravitate towards all the time. But like here, like adding it to different DIYs where you're just highlighting different areas, I'm not opposed to that. So I think it really adds to this. So here's a sticker pack that I was discussing. And I'm also using Sandstone by Waverly. This is a very neutral tan beige looking color. And I'm just going to choose the hearts and the shapes of the hearts that I wanted to use for for this DIY. I have 4 frames here, so I had to choose like 4 styles of the hearts that came on this sticker pack. And I'm going to just paint or sponge over those stickers, just making sure to get into all the grooves, all the edges and everything, because you know you don't want your those bright colors to come through, because that's not what this DIY is all about. We're trying to focus more on neutral decor. So this is very easy, and again you can use a heat tool, you know, to speed up the drying process right here. And then this time around, I'm going to use Salvaged Patina. It's also by the Tim Holtz brand, and using a sponge dauber just to give these heart pieces some accent color, as well as a vintage photo, giving it that vintage look. And once I have all of my sticker pieces distressed and stamped and whatnot, I'm going to essentially be sticking these to the center of each of those frames. Now I'm just going to simply attach these to the actual glass part of the frame. And as you can see, the hearts are smaller than the actual frame, which is the reason why I added that little background paper. So not only does it give a nice little background, but it also hides the inside of the frame. So here I'm taking more of that rub and buff, and I'm just gliding over the high points of each of these stickers. Again, I love the look of this because it really does highlight those points and really brings out the embossing. And I love how that looks. Just the right touch or the right amount of gold. Rub and buff also comes in other colors, other metallic colors. So if gold isn't your thing, I believe they have like copper, and they have silver. I think the one I'm using is antique gold. I think they have another one called European gold. I was not able to find European gold, but I think this worked out just fine. So I'm going to repeat the same steps to all of my picture frames, just adding some more paint, not paint, adding some stamp color, using some distress ink, and then just adding it to the center of each of the frames. Now you'll see here in the end that I decided to use some photo stickers to adhere my sticker pieces to the frame, because I noticed that they were sort of shifting, and the sticker adhesive on the backs of these aren't necessarily strong. And once I had them on the glass, like, sure, they stayed for a little bit, but I'm one of those people who likes to make sure that whatever I make, it sort of stands, you know, withstands any kind of movement, and making sure that it, you know, everything stays the way that it's supposed to. So I didn't want to run the risk of the stickers falling off. So I decided to add these photo stickers. These were already in my stash. I was a big scrapbooker at one point, so these were already in my craft stash. You can also use other types of adhesive. If you have a tape runner, if you have glue dots, but glue dots are like super sticky. And if I ever wanted to use these frames for any other purpose, I didn't want to have to go through the hassle of trying to remove that adhesive from the glue dots, because they can be very, very sticky. So I thought using these photo stickers was a safe option. So here I have all of the sticker pieces attached, and I decided I'm gonna go ahead and sponge on some of that vintage photo over the hanging ribbon, again just to tie in the whole vintage distressed look of the frames. And since I did sort of mess up some of those hanging ribbon when I was painting the frame's moss green. I did get some of the paint color on the ribbon. So this just sort of camouflages everything, ties everything together, giving it that rustic look. So let's take a final look at all of the DIYs. This is how they came out. Here's the 4 picture frames. I think they came out super cute. Good for decorating with year round, not just for Valentine's, and it also has that French vintage look to it. And then here is the wand that I made. I thought that was super cute. And you'll be seeing here all the the rest of the DIYs. I just want to thank you all once again for sticking with me through the very end. I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. So please leave me a comment. Tell me which one was your favorite and if you would recreate any of these DIYs. And if you're new, thanks so much for stopping by. Please join my YouTube family by hitting that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. And I will see you all in my next video. Thanks so much for watching.